2Face never really disputed the claim that Blackface wrote African Queen. But the issue he had was that he never actually came out to confirm it.
Okay, so he was just silent.
He was silent.
Okay, why the rest of Nigeria felt like Blackface was being a troublemaker and they couldn't believe that he wrote.
Yes, 2Face is a stand-up guy, as far as I know. He may have, I don't know about the management. I don't want to comment about the ethical ideas behind his management. But as far as I know, he personally appears to be a stand-up guy, because once alerted about the omissions, he's always very quick to want to rectify them. So I'm led to believe that these were not intentional mistakes. And you see, Blackface is really underrated. I remember where there was this case he told me about. Initially, I thought he was totally out of pocket when he told me about a song of his that Wizkid sampled back in 2011.
What song was it? I know he has a song where he called out Wizkid for sampling, and everybody's like, which song of yours did Wizkid sample?
There's a song.
I'm trying to remember.
It's called I like the way you whine it or something.
I like the way you whine it.
Okay. Blackface on is I love the way you whine it. Wizkid's on is I like the way you whine it. And you see, we have a studio in firm. When we actually put these two songs in the music software, we realized that they were both the same BPM. They are both the same key. And if you play those songs simultaneously, you see that they loop over each other perfectly.
So definitely Wizkid took that inspiration or anything from Blackface.
And that was in 2011 where Wizkid, that was his very first album.
Yeah, Superstar.
Then he was following Blackface on Twitter. Blackface reached out to him. He unfollowed him, basically. Females in the industry are genuinely being horribly shortchanged. Yes, because on the flip side, I understand that it takes much more to promote a female artist. Yeah. But females are not given the respect that their male counterparts are given. Yes, females in the industry, they don't get nearly enough protection. And I think that's something the industry needs to address before it gets out of hand, so that we don't have more Cynthia Morgans.
Hello everyone, welcome again to Legit TV. My name is Abisola Alawode, and I'm sure by now you noticed that this is not a normal studio setting or interview setting. That's because we are going to be speaking to a very interesting young gentleman. I can't remember where I heard that thing. A man of letters. Is that correct? Yes. Can I describe you as a man of letters?
Yes. I believe lawyers are men of letters.
You see, you've jumped the gun. I didn't want you to know you're a lawyer. I don't really want you to do so. Please, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Barrister Manny in Nigeria.
Yeah, thank you.
I got that right?
Yes, spot on.
Hallelujah. Barrister Manny, thank you very much for inviting us to your chambers, to your office.
Nice to have you now, modest. Yes, no.
It's fine. I can't remember the last time I saw somebody wear a bow tie. It looks really good. Is it like a requirement? Lawyers have to wear bow ties?
Well, for lawyers, we need to look a bit formal on every occasion, and we're used to having this. I think it's kind of similar to the bib we wear, so we feel kind of comfortable wearing clip-on ties. I know bow ties are clip-on, so and it's just sometimes to get something different from the boring.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I understand. So, but is it possible for a lawyer to wear agbada in court?
Oh, goodness me, no. I mean...
no, your freedom of expression.
Goodness me, no. No, we have rules of professional conduct.
Oh, okay. And dressing is part of the professional conduct.
Yes, because such lawyer would likely find himself in contempt of court and maybe be thrown in jail. If he's unlucky to have a very angry judge, he may even be remanded. Yeah.
So when you go into the prison and say, bros, what you carry?
I walk back down to court.
It's so funny. Okay, so Barrister Manny he's a lawyer practicing in the entertainment sector in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Or you have your tentacles spread across.
Yes.
But majorly in the entertainment industry.
Yes, we do mostly commercial litigation, and a huge part of our practice. I mean, I'm in charge of the entertainment law / intellectual property section. So yes, we've kind of been around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So intellectual property, that's in the simplest terms, it's the work of your hands, or basically.
Or the work of your brain.
Of your brain.
Yes.
Okay.
Put down in a form. Yes, exactly.
Because you said the work of my brain, I could have. Well, okay, I thought about cooking my spaghetti different this morning.
Why I don't say the work of your hand per se, because if I dictate a story to you and you write it down, I mean, well, it's not technically the work of my hands, but I still own the copyright to that story. Yes.
Oh, okay. But in Nigeria now, let's talk generally in Nigeria.
Yeah.
Are people beginning to respect intellectual property, or when you even attach property to anything, people begin to think cars, houses, and what have you?
Yes.
So, but intellectual property, we in the industry, we know that this is a serious thing. But for the general populace, or for you who's practicing now, do we have people accepting that this is actually a form of ownership, it's a form of property?
Well, I would say yes and no. Yes, in the sense that the more revenue from streams, royalties, the more the money goes up, the more attention people would devote to it naturally. So you find a lot of younger artists now who are much more knowledgeable about their revenue streams when it comes to royalties and all that. They are concerned about who owns their publishing, whereas before artists did not even know there was anything like publishing on songs. So I'm impressed with a lot of the younger artists who are publishing their music independently, or who have their revenue streams as their main source of income. Those guys seem to be more abreast with the need for copyright protection. But I'll say no, because there still seems to be this general apathy, or a kind of ignorance over the issue of intellectual property, whereby people feel that an idea is an idea and it's free for everybody to use. You understand? Even if I come and I take a huge chunk of your song, what was the harm? I released my own song. So people still believe that sometimes, when you are clamoring for your intellectual property rights, that maybe you are being too greedy, or you're trying to stifle another person's creativity. But we just need to get on board with the best practices all over the world.
So I understand you've represented some clients who are practicing, or some individuals who are in the entertainment industry. Well, and yes. one of them is popular musician Blackface.
Oh yes, Blackface, yes.
Yes, Blackface. And I understand you also work with Cynthia Morgan as well.
Yes, I represented Blackface. I still represented him. I started representing Blackface in August 2019. Luckily, or rather, let me say, by the grace of God, we're able to sort out a lot of his issues, a lot of his disputes to a large extent. I'm sure that's why you don't see as much of the
whole noise and that was around.
Well, if you call it that, maybe, but to a large extent, we were able to sort it out. And as you know, he was sued for defamation.
Yes.
By 2Face, his former bandmate in Plantation Boys. So we were able to resolve the suits. We came to a settlement. The terms of the settlement were confidential at the time, but what I can say is that he wrote African Queen.
Blackface wrote African Queen. You can confirm now that he wrote African Queen in its entirety.
No, what 2Face wrote was the third verse, and 2Face never really disputed the claim that Blackface wrote African Queen. But the issue he had was that he never actually came out to confirm it.
Okay, so but he was just silent.
He was silent.
Okay, why the rest of Nigeria felt like Blackface was being a troublemaker, and they couldn't believe that he wrote.
Yes, but what actually happened was that Blackface, he had some royalties due to him, which he was not able to get until the 2Face camp regularized their position. So that was done prior to the settlement in 2019. Then there was also the issue of Let Somebody Love You. Okay. Might I also add that Blackface owns 50% on publishing of African Queen. So let's just say for everything that comes in on African Queen today, every naira, Blackface gets 50 kobo. He gets 50%
of everything.
Yes.
But has he gotten anything?
Yes, he has. Yes,
okay.
He has. He has not gotten what he should have, but he's definitely gotten something.
So okay.
Yes. So the issue there was really 2Face's failure to acknowledge him, more or less, and the frustration that it caused to Blackface. And the issue was compounded by a song called Let Somebody Love You.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Let Somebody Love You was a song that was performed by 2Face and a lady from the United States. I can't recall her name right now. Yeah. But the issue came where when a song is, produced and recorded and ready to be put out, there's what's called a split sheet.
Okay.
A split sheet outlines what percentage of the rights each party owns. So every songwriter is supposed to be captured in the split sheet. So the issue came about when in that split sheet, Blackface's name, his name is actually Ahmedu Augustine.
Yes.
It was misspelt. So because of the error, he was not able to get his royalties on that song.
Okay.
Also, 2Face had included his manager as a writer on that song on the split sheet. And Blackface felt that because that song was actually written for the most part by Blackface also.
Okay.
And 2Face actually acknowledged that and actually registered him as a writer of the song.
Mm-hmm.
So
that registered Blackface as a writer of the song.
Yes. 2Face is a stand-up guy, as far as I know. Mm-hmm. He may have, I don't know about the management, I don't want to comment about the ethical ideas behind his management, but as far as I know, he personally appears to be a stand-up guy because once alerted about the omissions, he's always very quick to want to rectify them. So I'm led to believe that these were not intentional mistakes, but we really need to give a lot of credit to Blackface because Blackface did what a lot of Nigerians find it very hard to do, which is to stand up for your right.
Sorry, before you even continue, I'm glad we are having this conversation now, and I'm sure a majority of Nigerians would also would appreciate the fact that we're speaking about this, because in the eyes of a lot of people, they feel like Blackface is a troublemaker. Before you continue, they feel like he is one because he's just always talking about, and they couldn't understand that something like this could happen.
Yes.
You understand? But I'm glad you also mentioned that 2Baba is a stand-up guy. Probably there was just a little...
Exactly.
But kudos to Blackface again for actually coming out saying... Because if he did not talk, that's it.
How would you feel if you wrote the song which won the very first
the MTV
Africa Music Award, catapulted this man to international stardom? I can tell you that a huge chunk of the royalties that come in from African Queen still coming from this movie, Fat Girls, which is a TV movie till today. For every time that movie is played on TV, because the television movie on CBS in the US, for every time that song is played, or rather that movie is played, Blackface gets the royalty.
He gets alert. Let's use simple English.
He gets alert. Well, it's not instant. It's quarterly. if you have royalties, if you get royalties, obviously, they won't play your song on Spotify. They will wait.
Give me them.
It's quarterly, but he gets it, and that's the issue. It's just. I would say Blackface is a very decent guy because he's just letting things lie low and he's putting a lot of trust in us as his counsel. Because it's not to say the issue is completely laid to bed. Because that song, there was a movie in 2017. That movie was done by Ayo Makun Studios.
Okay.
It's called 10 Days in Sun City.
Yeah.
Now, for that movie, African Queen was used as a soundtrack. In fact, there was a new version of African Queen recorded for the purpose of that movie, and it was performed during the movie. It was the official soundtrack, and I think that movie was the highest grossing Nigerian film at the time.
Okay.
So Blackface hasn't made anything from that movie. Yes.
But a new version was recorded. This is I'm asking like a layman now.
Yes.
Since it wasn't the original African Queen version, a new version was recorded. Why does Blackface have any claims on that?
The song remains the song.
Okay.
If
Despite how it was recorded.
I mean, I was reading in the news yesterday how Diddy, Puff Daddy then Diddy.
That's a very sad story.
Yes, how Sting makes $2,000. Is it per day or so
over that,
on that I'll Be Missing You. If you notice that it was re-recorded.
Yeah.
The sample was not taken from Sting's version. It was re-recorded. Faith Evans sang it again, but he succeeded in court because the song remains the song.
Yeah, and it's not even just only. The funny thing about Sting is this is the second time.
Yes.
Because I remember he had a song with this young artist who passed away. I can't remember. That one also used the sample from his song Big Late. He's taking them to court. So we have a lot of even Bloodlines. Pharrell Williams,
and Robin
Thicke. The same thing has happened.
So that's basically how Blackface definitely has a legitimate claim over that second version of African Queen, but. You know, it gets to a point where you fight and you become a bit
battle weary.
Not necessarily battle weary, but you just decide to, you know, keep your gunpowder dry for a while. So I think that's where we are with Blackface. We're giving them some time to comply with what the court ordered, or rather what they undertook in court to do. That's
for the settlement that happened in 2019.
Yes, and you know, we've received a lot of excuses, the COVID, the NSARS, and if they don't comply, we'll have no choice to go back to court. But I'm hoping that will be a last resort, because you know it's in the interest of everybody for us to sit down together and get things done properly. It's just that, you know, in Nigeria, sometimes we don't want to do the hard work. Nigerians don't want to know what a synchronization royalty is.
What is a synchronization?
A synchronization royalty is whenever your song is played over a cinematograph film, like a movie.
A film, okay.
You're supposed to get a royalty.
Oh, really?
I'm telling you, it's a sync royalty. Even on TikTok and Instagram, if I use your song on an Instagram video, ideally you should be entitled to a sync royalty.
On TikTok and
yes.
Hey, I'm going to sing my song now.
A lot of people don't know. And that's why I told you that yes and no when you asked me about whether copyright is involved. Because a lot of people don't think that that the protection is justified. They don't see intellectual property as worthy of such levels of protection.
Okay.
But this, like I said, we need to adhere to the international best practices. Yes.
And it will do us good if we do adhere to this.
Exactly. And we have guys like Blackface thank for that, because despite all the negative publicity he has received, the bottom line is that the young man, he stuck to his guns. He said that he was the one who wrote this song. Initially, it was, touch and go.
Yeah.
But eventually, we were able to establish he wrote the song, and we had documents from Koson to back it up.
So he took this is quite interesting. So Blackface actually registered the song, or how did Koson come in?
2Face actually registered the song at Koson.
At Koson, okay.
Yes, and he actually registered Blackface as the writer of the song.
He registered Black.
Yes.
Why was all this drama? Why was all this drama? Okay. That's interesting, and I'm glad that at least they are both working towards getting all this. Hopefully everything works out, because we can't have these two giants fighting and everything. But at the same time, this fight has also been an eye opener for the rest of the industry.
Yes,
because everybody is wiser now.
Exactly. If you write a song, or you're in the studio and somebody is vibing, then all of a sudden you give them a hook or you give them a verse, ensure that you are recorded as a writer of the song.
Okay.
The moment you do that, you are entitled to a part of the composer's share, and maybe even the publishing, depending on the negotiations you have with the label or artist. So you need to make sure, as a songwriter, you are entitled to royalties. That's basically what we never knew in Nigeria, because Nigeria, people don't really pay attention to the lyrics. Everybody just believes that, it's and you see, Blackface is really underrated. I remember where there was this case he told me about. Initially, I thought he was totally out of pocket, when he told me about a song of his that Wizkid sampled back in 2011.
What song was it? I know he has a song where he called out Wizkid for sampling, and everybody's like, which song of yours did Wizkid
There's
sample?
a song.
I'm trying to remember.
It's called I like the way you whine it or something.
I like the way you whine it.
The
Okay.
Blackface one is I love the way you whine it. Wizkid's one is I like the way you whine it. And you see, we have a studio in firm. When we actually put these two songs in the music software, we realized that they were both the same BPM. They are both the same key. And if you play those songs simultaneously, you see that they loop over each other perfectly.
So definitely Wizkid took that inspiration or anything from Blackface.
And that was in 2011 where Wizkid, that was his very first album.
Yeah, Superstar.
Then he was following Blackface on Twitter. Blackface reached out to him. He unfollowed him, basically. And I can understand Wiz's mindset, even though it's wrong. But he was probably just thinking that, creative freedom. I can. But it's something that we could have proved in court. Just the issue of the limitation period was always going to count against us.
Okay.
So that was why we...
So you guys, it wasn't known at the time when Wizkid released. It was much later.
Well, Blackface was saying it, but everybody, you see, when you have a reputation and everybody believes that you're the guy who cried wolf, that was exactly what happened. But
So
I can tell you that case would have sailed in a more developed country, or let's say had he come out with it earlier, it would have definitely sailed. But that's in the past now. I think Blackface is in a very, very good place now. I also advise him in respect of the publishing aspect of his company. So he's doing well, and in no small measure it's down to African Queen, because African Queen still makes money till today. I'm not going to say how much, but it's still
well, I can tell from your countenance that it makes a whole lot of money.
No, not a whole lot of money.
But a lot of money.
But
let's remove the whole.
It makes in dollars.
Hey God, and I can write song. So let's move into Cynthia Morgan. I understand you also represent Cynthia as well.
Yes, we represent Cynthia Morgan. We've been representing Cynthia Morgan since last October. Yes, and similar to Blackface. So
what exactly is this issue? It's a whole lot of. Because I remember, I think was it last year, we spoke to Cynthia at a press conference she did, and she said a couple of stuff that in my mind I'm like, really?
What exactly did she say?
I'm trying to remember that. Oh yeah. We asked about the car. There was an issue about the Range Rover at some point, and then she bought it. Then I think she mentioned that she's not made a dime. I really cannot remember. I really have to look at that interview again.
Yes.
Well, from your own angle now, somebody who actually handled this case. Yes. So what exactly
who is
handling? I beg your pardon. So, but what exactly is this whole Cynthia Morgan issue with her former record label? What's the issue?
Well, what Cynthia Morgan's issue with the label is something that should not have escalated if the label had handled it professionally. I think I should say. She had a contract with Northside Entertainment, I think in 2013, and the contract stated that they would bring the capital and they would recover their capital, after which the income will be shared 50-50.
Okay. That's after they had recovered.
After they recorded it.
Okay.
Now the issue came about where, according to my clients, the expenses started becoming a bit inflated.
Okay.
The price of different things were being inflated just to, make it impossible for her to get to that threshold where she'll start making her money back. And Cynthia Morgan is the most successful female dancehall artist of all time in Nigeria.
Okay.
However, miraculously, her management claimed they've not recovered what they spent on her. So what she is simply saying is, that's just not possible. And assuming, without conceding that is the case, it is down to their own negligence, not hers.
Because she delivered.
Because she delivered on everything. So we didn't exactly sue Jude Okoye to court. What we did is we went to court to ask for an order that will compel him to bring accounts of everything he has made on that song and all expenditure.
Okay.
And
did you guys get what you want? Did you get the order?
Well, we have not, and that is the sad part, because the system has taken a hit this past year. The issue of the burning down of the courts. Mm-hmm. Courts came together before we could get some traction between February, March, and April. We had this issue of the strike. Mm-hmm. So we're hoping that we can resolve that by this week, next week. Hopefully you should be back in court by next week. Okay. So when we go to court, we are definitely going to get that order. It's not a celebration. Once the court compels Jude to do that, it's not anything to celebrate over, because the battle is a long one. Okay. But for me personally, I feel that we shouldn't need to be doing that, because if it was handled professionally, North side should be the one furnishing her with periodic accounts of what they've made.
Yes, that should be the
exactly. And for me, I think it is, anybody will be traumatized, anybody will be heartbroken when you have songs that the man on the street can sing word for word, but you're not making any money from those songs under the pretext that the record label has not yet recovered their expenses, and they're not even willing to come forward and show you these quote and unquote expenses. So it has really put her in a bad emotional place, understandably, somehow similar to what my other client had, because there's this pressure that comes with fame, and where there's no commensurate income as a result of that fame, you start feeling cheated, victimized, and all that. But she did the right thing by going according to the law. Because what the law says is that when somebody infringes on your copyright, you can either sue the person for damages, you can get an injunction to stop the person from doing that infringing act, or you can ask for accounts of whatever the person has made from that. So she chose the
third option.
But Nigeria, we have this stigma where people are fighting for their rights. You come and say, oh, this person's wahala is too much. I've seen a lot of people say it, oh, Cynthia Morgan has too much wahala. How would you feel if let's just give this illustration now. Not you, but a person whose father passes on and leaves properties to the children, and the firstborn is the one in control of the properties, and he comes one day and says, I used it to pay tax, I used it to pay this one, pay that one, then there's nothing left for you.
Fight,
would you just sit down and take it? You will fight, and that's exactly what she's doing. So, and it's a trend. It's a trend. That's part of what I wanted us to discuss. It's a trend, a very disturbing trend I noticed, because females in the industry are genuinely being horribly shortchanged. Yes, because on the flip side, I understand that it takes much more to promote a female artist. But females are not given the respect that their male counterparts are given. I'll give you an illustration now with Cynthia Morgan. Cynthia Morgan recorded 2 songs for a young man named Jibo. And he included those songs in his album. I think he released it recently. She was not paid for these songs. And she was not consulted. Now, he claimed that he had asked for permission in the past. She didn't answer. I don't think that's even the point. The point is, she asked him for, a split sheet, like I explained earlier. That would just be evidence that he registered her as a songwriter. So she can go to whoever, BMI, ASCAP, whoever collects for her, and they would collect her money and give her at source, because that's how it works in developed countries. Let's not talk about Nigeria. That's topic for another day. So what did this young man do when she asked him for a split sheet? She didn't even ask him for money. He basically threatened her.
Jibo threatened Cynthia?
Yes, he did. He tried to intimidate her. He said that, she stayed with him. He actually put it on paper. I can show you the letter if you want. He said she lived with him for a month sometime in the past. And while she was with him, he was feeding her and all such, that since now she's asking for a split sheet, he is going to demand for rent, feeding costs, and data costs for that period.
For the period where she stayed with him.
Exactly.
And this was years ago.
This was years ago. I had to take 10 deep breaths when I read the letter. Because all I could see there was intimidation, or rather a pale attempt at intimidation, because everybody has this preconceived notion that she's a lady. Because she's a lady, we can take advantage of her.
So that's what you think is happening in this situation?
It happens everywhere in the industry. I've seen it. I'm currently negotiating some contracts. I won't mention, don't have liberty to talk about those ones, but with big labels, with huge labels. And I've seen these things play out. The bargaining power when it comes to female artists is horribly skewed in favor of the label. Yes, females in the industry, they don't get nearly enough protection. I think that's something the industry needs to address before it gets out of hand, so that we don't have more Cynthia Morgans. Because, you know, when it's all fine and good when they are hot, top of the charts, but 5 years, 6 years down the line, what happens? How do we ensure that these young ladies are going to continue making money from their songs? So those are the issues, and those are the things we are fighting for. Those are the things we like to fight for as lawyers.
I think I agree with you, because I'm thinking back now, I'm trying to look at all the top female artists in the country now. Those are the very top. They are the ones, they are holding their own, in the sense that they own their own companies.
Exactly.
Because I guess it's as a result of whatever they've gotten in the past.
Exactly.
And they felt like, you know what, the best way to go about this is to actually own this thing ourselves, so nobody can come and treat you in this manner.
Exactly.
So the streams that Cynthia garnered during the period of her time with Northside, she didn't get any money?
She has not gotten any money to date. And
this was in their contract?
Well, it wasn't in the contract that she wasn't going to get any money. What was in the contract was that he would recover his expenses before the income would be shared 50-50 from the point. From that point on. From that point on.
So say for shows that she goes for now, the performance fee that she collects for shows, the label takes those monies? Or
No. That's a misconception under Nigerian law. When I perform a song, I don't necessarily have to pay royalties to the songwriter, because if that were the case, every karaoke bar would need to get royalties for every single song on every. So typically, and you know, the Nigerian copyright system is not this advanced, but this is what obtains in advanced countries. The venue pays a fee. The venue, they are the ones to pay a fee as performance royalty. But even in the advanced countries, it's not really emphasized. So Cynthia Morgan doesn't need to pay the label
because
anything.
You know I'm asking because there's this idea that when an artist goes for a show, say they are paid 1 million.
Yes.
There's a stipulation in their contract with the label that they share that particular money.
That's during the term of the contract.
Oh.
Yes, that's during the term of the contract.
So that one is just a normal thing.
Yes, during the term of the contract, whatever you perform, even if you perform Mary Had a Little Lamb or that concert, you have to share according to the contract.
So those were the only incomes Cynthia was getting.
Those were the only incomes she was getting, and she was getting as at then. She wasn't even getting that income. Yes, it was all going to the label. She started to get that income when she got out of Northside, got herself together, able to do 1 or 2 shows. Then she started making some money. But at that time, everything she was getting was, you know, from Northside, basically. The crumbs that were falling off the table, even the car, the house. She eventually lost all that because, you know what, I'm not trying to, you know, disparage Northside or their business practices in any way, because that would definitely be for the court to decide. But in my opinion, and based on the brief I received from my client, they did not act professionally, especially by failing to give her accounts up until now, because I think that's like the barest minimum requirement any label should do. I saw the founder, the CEO, he was online. He was talking about how they spent 40 million or thereabouts on her, on videos and all that. And all those things we articulated in the court processes. If you go online, I think they leaked the court processes. I think they were the ones who leaked it because they wanted to make it look like, oh, she's looking for looking for trouble again. But for us, we don't care because, you know, this thing is like smoke. It cannot stay hidden. Eventually, it's going to come out. Just the same way, eventually, people realized that Blackface roots African Queen.
At the end of the day, this is going to...
Eventually, it's going to come out.
Okay. So, Barrister, thank you very much for speaking with us. To the upcoming acts that are getting into the industry, you know, like we mentioned earlier, many people are beginning to recognize their rights and they're doing the right thing. I think even for me, who has covered the industry for years, it was maybe 5 years ago, I didn't know what. I always wondered how producers and artists shared whatever the money they make, and it was much more thing that before I understood what a split sheet was.
Exactly.
And everything. I'm glad that people are getting it. So for the upcoming guys in the industry now, so what should they look out for before signing a contract? Let's do this as quickly as possible in the simplest terms. Okay,
so there are 4 contracts you need to know about as an upcoming artist. A recording contract.
Oh, these are different.
These are different types of contract you need to look out for. I promise to make this as short as possible.
Okay.
The recording contracts, management contracts, distribution contracts, and what do you call it? What do I have again? Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Merchandising?
No, not merchandising. I said management, recording, distribution, and publishing.
Okay.
Exactly. Now, the publishing contract is the most important thing.
Okay.
Because the publisher is the person who has rights to the music.
Okay.
So, as a young artist, you need to sign non-exclusive distribution deals.
So that you can use different...
So you can use different platforms. Avoid signing publishing contracts. Unless you have, a publisher that is very experienced and, they are ready to actually promote your music. For recording contracts, it's on an individual basis. If the company is offering you enough, always make sure that you get your value in the recording contract, because you need to know that whatever you record belongs to the label, not to you. So you need to negotiate and ensure that you get your composer's share, because the composer's share is different from the publishing rights. Publishing rights is shared by the label and the publishers. The composer is you and your songwriters. I'll share that one. So on the recording contract, which that was the trickiest, before you sign a recording contract as a young artist, personally I always I tell them to sign what I call imprints. There you have a company of your own, incorporate a company, then you have something like a joint venture agreement between your company and the label. That's an imprint. Then what's the last one? The management contract. For the management contracts, you can't exist without a manager. But I always tell people to try to make sure that whatever you pay your manager is on a net basis, not a gross basis. Because
what's the difference?
Well, on a gross basis, unscrupulous managers may be tempted to inflate expenditures and all that. You understand? So
that's at the end of the year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. They may inflate expenditures. So you find a situation where you make $1 million and you are supposed to pay your manager 20%, which is 200,000, but you have expenses of, let's say, 350,000 to pay. You understand? So
that expenses is outside of the money the manager collects.
Yes, but whereas if it were on a net basis, you would deduct the 350,000 from the 1 million, then your manager will be entitled to 20% of what now? The 650 instead of 1 million. Yes.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, but this is not legal advice. This is just by way of
okay.
Not legal advice in any way, but these are just tips. And generally, go into Spotify, go into YouTube, try to know about their algorithms, know about how to get on their playlists. The internet has made it so much so that you can be an independent artist and blow up tomorrow.
Yes. You don't have to wait for what's the word I'm looking for now? The overlords or the big boys in the industry to bless you.
Yes,
and say but the internet has taken away those powers and given it back to the artist.
Exactly.
Okay, so Barrister Mani, thank you very much.
It's my pleasure having you
for speaking with me. Like I said, man, the industry is going to be better for this interview and those that will be watching as well. So you're on social media, right?
Yes, I am.
Please tell the people your social media handles.
Better Call Mani. Better full stop, call, full stop, money.
How do you spell the better? The TTER?
Yes.
Call money.
Yes.
On Instagram.
Yes.
And you still have a Twitter account. You want to admit that on live? You want to admit you have a Twitter account? The federal government will be coming to knock on your door.
I cannot comment. If I comment, I'll be in trouble.